Welcome to Top 30. I'm Richard Bacon.
And I'm Kristen Smith. And here are your top 30 stories in 30 minutes.
The same smartphone apps that give users weather forecasts and recommend lunch spots are also tracking their every move. A recent report by Quartz analysed data that was collected by smartphones. It was so detailed it contained the local barometric pressure and the address of every Wi-Fi network nearby. Users agreed to let such information be collected when they sign up for new websites, power on devices, or install new apps. The terms are in the privacy policies that everyone agrees to and no one reads. It is possible to limit the data collected. Android users can go to the settings menu, click on Google, and then location. Location services can be shut off for the whole phone or for individual apps. iPhone users can access location settings by clicking on Settings and then Privacy. Apple and Windows laptops both have privacy settings that can be adjusted in their system menus. The settings may limit certain functions of apps, but some users may prefer the privacy.
Women in British Columbia find themselves more worried about money than their male counterparts. According to a new report from Van City, 52% of women experience extreme emotional stress over finances, while 59% are not satisfied with their current financial situation. In fact, some women even report the financial pressures make them physically sick. It makes sense that women in BC are more stressed than men over money when recent statistics show that they make on average 35% less than men in the same role. And of course, the cost of living in British Columbia, especially when it comes to housing affordability, is a major factor.
This is your Top 30 Health Roundup. Elephants do not get cancer. And not only have researchers discovered the anti-cancer genes that make them resistant, they've discovered humans, too, carry these genes. The problem is that they don't protect us from cancer the same way they do elephants. Still, researchers are hopeful this discovery can lead to new cancer-fighting medications. Award-winning scientists out of Europe have predicted that Alzheimer's will be as manageable as HIV within the next 10 years. They believe, in part, that instead of trying to reverse the debilitating symptoms of dementia, we should be working to develop treatments to prevent it altogether. And it's true, experts have confirmed that falling in love will likely cause you to pack on a few extra pounds. Assessing data from 15,000 participants over a 10-year period, researchers found that couples lose the need to feel attractive once they've nabbed someone, and as a result feel comfortable eating more. But scientists suggest the weight gain isn't from an unhealthy lifestyle, but that date nights combined with cozy nights in binge-watching television altogether contributed.
A young man with autism got the surprise of a lifetime when he met his basketball heroes on the Charlotte Hornets. Joining us with more is Paige Failing from Fox 46 Charlotte. Paige?
Yeah, this Hornets superfan is true blue, Kristen, and he does not care what the team's record is. Which is probably a good thing this season for us. This is Paul Nestor. He's living with autism, and he had a bucket list of things that he wanted to do. One of them was to meet Coach Clifford. Well, he got that, and he got a whole lot more. The charity Dream on 3 presented him actually with his very own custom Hornets jersey. He got to high-five players running out of the tunnel. He even got to sit courtside with his folks. His mom says it's experiences like this that give him and other kids with autism the chance to really express and enjoy themselves. And Kristen, a reason for basketball players too, to know that they're still doing our city some good, even when it may not necessarily look that way just on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And what an amazing experience for Paul. Thanks, Paige.
Welcome back. Parents whose adult children moved back into their homes saw a decline in their quality of life. According to a new study, I would say that's obviously going to be the case.
I know. My response was, yeah, no duh. Do people still say no duh?
I don't know.
Do they say no duh in the United Kingdom?
And from now on, we all will.
No, but it's quite obvious, like you said. I mean, kids move back into the house.
Yeah.
Parents aren't as happy because they no longer have alone time.
It sort of speaks to a degree of failure in a sense, doesn't it? Which is a bit harsh of me, but in a way, you want your kids to grow up and be independent and be successful. And I suppose if they move back in, it's a slight indication that something's gone wrong. You may also feel the burden of that as a parent, as well as having to do their laundry again. Imagine doing like the laundry of your kids for 30 years and thinking, well, that's gone.
Yeah.
I'm free.
And then it's back.
Oh.
The study focused on 4 areas for parents. Okay, control.
Yeah.
Autonomy. pleasure, and self-realization.
Yeah.
So I guess it's one of those moments where you're like, wait a minute, I'm not happy with these kids back.
There is now a lot of study that shows that people are at their happiest before they have children.
No.
And when their children leave home.
I don't like that. I don't agree with that.
That may not be true for you.
I don't agree with that.
I know, but that's your opinion. I'm saying there's like peer-reviewed, lots of data on this now, which does bring us to this point, which is if you're happiest when kids leave home.
Yes.
You're not going to be at your happiest when they move back into your home.
Now let's talk about details of another new study which shows the ability to feel empathy is shaped by your genes. This is really interesting. Researchers studied DNA of more than 46,000 people and created what they call an empathy quotient. They ran tests that show variations in genetics are linked with changes in empathy. Now, it's not just genetics. Environment did play a role here, but I can totally see this playing out with my son. My son's 3. And I'm a very sensitive person, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I get my feelings hurt pretty easily, but also, you know, I can watch something and really feel for someone.
Yeah, you have high empathy.
That's how my son is as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
great.
if someone's crying, my son will come over and just like pat their arm. It's amazing.
Lovely thing to see, yeah.
So it's cool to see this passed down.
There's quite a lot of science that shows as well that something like 30% of your character and who you are is made up by genetics.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating and disappointing and almost terrifying in the sense that that represents a reduction of free will. That you might think it's entirely up to you and the decisions you make, that they determine who you are and what you like and where you go and how you feel about other people. But actually a lot of it's just programmed and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could be rewired with therapy and whatnot. In fact, researchers say decoding the genetic predispositions for empathy can help couples respond to certain therapies.
You may think most millennials can't live without their social media, but the opposite may soon be true. Millennials are indeed ditching social media. 34% of young users reported deleting their social media accounts entirely. That is, if you're running Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and Snapchat, you're going to be terrified by these numbers because these are the people you rely on.
I love social media, don't get me wrong. Follow me, Kristen Smith TV. But I do understand it. I love unplugging. When you unplug from social media, I mean, there's something very peaceful and therapeutic about it. And I love having face-to-face conversations still. And I don't know if that's the reason millennials are leaving, but I do see the appreciation for getting off social media for a time.
If my grown-up kids move back into my house, I want them not to have checked out social media so that they can stay in their bedrooms and I don't have to actually see them. Top 30 will be right back. Welcome back to Top 30. The IRS warns that tax fraud over the phone is a major threat. Scam phone calls have increased over 1,200% since last year. Callers pose as IRS representatives and inform taxpayers they have a balance due that has to be paid immediately. The victims are often threatened with arrest or heavy fines. Kristen, has this happened to you?
It's happened to me twice, actually. What? Yeah, last year it was so crazy. Someone just called me and said, hey, it's the IRS.
Did they?
You owe this, this, and this.
Maybe you did.
I
maybe
thought,
it's the truth.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe you're behind on your taxes.
Maybe, but then I asked some questions and his story wasn't adding up.
The way to understand this is that the IRS will never actually telephone and demand an immediate payment. So if you get that call, you know it's not them.
Yeah.
They will never threaten to bring in local police or other law enforcement groups. Never.
Yeah, the IRS every year compiles a list called the Dirty Dozen of the biggest tax threats of the year, and phone scams are actually near the top of that list this year. So, like you said,
my landline home phone, I never give the number to anyone. I only use it for outgoing calls.
You have a landline?
So I have a landline.
He's the one person with a landline.
I've actually got a proper old rotary phone, you know, where you turn the dial.
Stop it.
Yeah.
That's so vintage.
It's so exciting to use. It takes a while. And no, so if my phone rings, I know it's nonsense because no one has the number.
Okay, so there you go. Get a rotary phone and problem solved. Well, there's a new report that I think is going to get a lot of people talking, and it shows how hard it is to make a living by earning tips. The New York Times talked to servers and bartenders who said they deal with sexual harassment, proposals of marriage, and even stalking. And, as I was looking through this report in the New York Times, I couldn't believe what some of these servers were reporting. This one server said that a guy once reached under her skirt and grabbed her. Her manager intervened, had a conversation that ended with a handshake. shake.
Yeah,
and she was mortified.
Oh, the manager didn't help. Yeah,
the manager didn't help, and I think that's a big problem, is bosses, in some cases, according to this report, are not helping the problem.
It's a lot of, you know, sit on my lap, love, and I'll give you a $30 tip. There's a lot of that going on. A few chefs have been taken down in the kind of Me Too era. And this, in a way, is a branch of that. This is about people being exploited for tips.
You and I have both worked in the food service industry. I know when I was a server about a decade ago, you know, I got harassed often, and there were several occasions where I refused to serve a table because of it.
I did work in the food service industry, but it was in McDonald's.
I know.
It's not,
no, I know. I went back kind of far with that one.
I know. I also worked in a McDonald's in a very rough town in England, where customers would quite often get into fights.
Oh, no.
No, yeah.
You survived.
I survived. Yeah, my tip would be never work there.
Top 30, I'll be right back. In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 9 Minneapolis, Soraya Lopez has been a teacher at Minneapolis Public Schools for 10 years. But a visit home to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria inspired her to return once more. But this time, she'd have a mission, spreading education to the poorest parts of the island. Lopez requested a one-year leave of absence so she can travel around Puerto Rico in a bookmobile. The teacher has started a GoFundMe page for the project, hoping to raise $20,000 for the educational materials needed. Our next story from Fox 13 Tampa Bay. Bruce Young is proving the importance of math in the real world. While teaching the area of an object, Young asked his students to help an elderly couple repaint their home. The students measured walls, windows, and doors to figure out the amount of paint needed, and then they went into action.
The fact that we could give back to the community, along with learning a math lesson, back and just kind of smooth it out. I hope that they remember this for a long time.
Our final story from KTVU. At age 52, Bob Valentine's doctor ordered him to exercise, and he's been on the go ever since, walking an hour every day or about 100 miles a month.
If it hadn't been for my walking, I'm sure I'd be in the history books.
Bob is now 92 years old and gearing up to celebrate, walking a grand total of 50,000 miles. That's the same as walking around the world twice, just so you know. And he plans to celebrate the milestone with friends and family by his side.
The United Kingdom will ban the use of wild animals in the circus by 2020. The government made the announcement last month that for ethical reasons, animals like reindeer, camels and zebras will no longer be used during circus acts in England. The president of Animal Defenders International expressed her satisfaction at the announcement, saying, having campaigned to stop circus suffering around the world for over 20 years, we're delighted that a ban is finally imminent. We congratulate the UK government on consigning this outdated act to the past where it belongs. Similar bans were made last year in Scotland and Ireland, and Wales is expected to follow suit. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus shut down in the United States in 2017 after 146 years in business. But the circus is not dead in the US, with plenty of other traveling shows, so it will be interesting to see if any of them follow with the bans. For over 20 years, Fortune magazine has ranked the 100 best companies to work for, but this year's list is different. It's the first time the research company behind the list, called Great Place to Work, has changed how it ranks companies. Researchers wanted more feedback from employees who identified as women, minorities, or LGBTQ. Companies were ranked based on values, innovation, financial growth, leadership, effectiveness, maximizing human potential, and trust. There's now a new #1 company for the first time in 7 years, the cloud computing firm Salesforce. The company made headlines when CEO Mark Benioff announced the company had made $6 million in salary adjustments to bring its gender pay gap to 0. The top 5 also include Wegmans Food Market, Ultimate Software, the Boston Consulting Group, and Edward Jones. Fortune says workers who think they're at a great company are 4 times more likely to sacrifice in order to get the job done.
More than 65 million Americans travel during spring break, which is why we've got today's top 30 solution, a waterproof camera at a special 75% discount. Your phone may not be up for swimming, but this waterproof camera was made for it. You can take pictures and videos underwater so you remember all of the best moments from your vacation. Or you can attach it to your sports helmet or even your dashboard. This waterproof camera has a 1.5-inch LCD display and 4x zoom. It also has USB connectivity, which makes uploading a breeze. The waterproof camera retails for $79.95, but today you can buy it for just $19.99. That's a 75% discount, and you can get this right now at luluway.com while they last. Whether you're a frequent flyer or the occasional traveler, you'll likely need to grab a bite to eat while at the airport. And while they're not necessarily known for their food, Reward Expert has analyzed several reviews to rate the 15 airports in the world with the best food. Asia dominated the top 4 slots, with the Narita International Airport in Japan rated #1, serving healthy eats like sushi and udon soup. Not one airport in the United States made the list, but Pearson Airport in Toronto came in 12th, thanks to their diverse selection of cuisine. The top 10 was rounded out by airports in Europe and 1 in Australia. I guess the moral of the story is that you're better off to eat at the airports if you're traveling internationally.
Ever since the internet was invented, there have been concerns that people would become so absorbed in the online world that they would avoid interactions in the real one. And it looks like that's a fear we can put aside, at least for now. A study from the University of Kansas set out to see if social media use was leading to social displacement or the alienation of face-to-face interactions with friends and family. Researchers looked at data from the longitudinal study of American youth from 2009 to 2011, and they found there was no decrease in interpersonal contact that could be correlated with social media use. In fact, their rates of social interaction were about the same as those of Generation X. Lead researcher Dr. Jeffrey Hall said social media users were not experiencing social displacement. If they used social media earlier in the day, they were not more likely to be alone later. So it's not social media destroying our ability to connect with other humans. It's just us.
No water? No problem. For Waffle House, at least. The popular restaurant chain has secret menus for emergency situations. And in DeKalb County, Georgia, just about 20 locations had to pull out its no water menu. A massive water main break has led to a boil water advisory in the area. And while water may not be readily available, Waffle House will stay open. The limited menu features items like a hamburger, grilled cheese, and grilled chicken sandwich. Everything needs to be served on disposable plates, and the location supply bottled water and canned soda to drink. This isn't the only secret menu Waffle House has developed. They also have a no power menu. Pat Warner, a representative for Waffle House, told Business Insider, if the restaurant has daylight and natural gas, we can cook something. So when a disaster strikes, at least you can count on Waffle House to be open for business. Every day, 20 veterans take their own life. It's a tragic statistic that compelled one service member to say, enough is enough. In 2015, retired Master Sergeant Josh Griwa lost 7 of his Army brothers over a 6-week period, all of them to suicide. The only way to cope with such a loss was to do something about it. So Josh and his wife, Nisa, created Deep Sea Valkyries, an outreach program that facilitates retreats and outreach programs for veterans recovering from post-traumatic stress disorder. The retreats, or voyages, provide a holistic approach to healing, reducing the triggers of PTSD. The voyages take vets from across the U.S. down to the Bahamas for a week-long excursion aboard a ship where they partake in a number of eco-adventures: scuba diving, snorkeling, deep-sea fishing, sailing, kayaking, and more, all while they engage in extensive counseling with certified experts. The goal is healing, but it's also to reinvigorate these heroes who've lost sight of their value. Josh says each voyage offers healing of the mind, body, and soul. Because Deep Sea Valkyries is a nonprofit, they have a number of prize giveaways to support their efforts and end this cycle of veteran suicide. If you'd like to learn more, stop by our Top 30 TV Facebook page.
Researchers at a medical company and the University of Georgia say they've developed a new stroke treatment that reduces brain damage. The treatment is currently called AB126 and uses fluid-filled structures known as exosomes. These are generated from human stem cells. These exosomes travel through the bloodstream, carrying doses of medicine that are so small they can cross barriers that cells cannot. The process has been successfully tested in animals, and researchers hope to start studies using humans as early as next year. The CDC lists strokes as the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States, so any breakthrough could have huge implications for thousands of patients.
Thanks for watching. You can catch up on past episodes of Top 30 now on Hulu. You can also download the Top 30 mobile app and visit our website. We want to hear from you, so connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to @Top30TV for interviews and exclusive web content. We'll see you next time on Top 30.